Hey everybody, what is up? It's your friends Corey Camp and Brian McGill back at you with another What's Up Wednesday episode of this week. Corey, how's the weather over in Columbus?
It is amazing. Again, this is past couple weeks I've been telling my husband we could have stayed in Texas for this weather because it was pretty hot. Not as hot as Texas, but it was pretty hot, which is unusual for Ohio to have many hot days in a row, but it is cooling back down. August has come to its senses and it's in the 70s and 60s in the evening. And a lot of my Texas family says it's too cold for them, but it's perfect for me. So it's great. I'm back in the sunroom because it's cool enough to be in here. So
the Pittsburgh heat wave has subsided, and with a little bit of rain, it's kind of helped kind of cool that up.
Yeah.
We have had a pretty dry summer. The professor's lawn care orders, they're down right now. So, yeah. We're okay with that because now we get more father-son time on the weekend.
There you go.
Speaking of, we got some exciting news to share with you at Sibme this week. We have an exciting interview lined up with you today with our CEO Dave Wakefield. We got some science news and some news regarding the Better Together conference and on-demand courses. New course. We have a new course. Corey will talk about here. Let's get started with some good news coming around the world of science. For those of you that are Penguins fans, and not just Pittsburgh Penguin fans, we have determined, British scientists have discovered that the emperor penguins have increased their population, or not they're increased. We've discovered another 10% of emperor penguins, thanks to the use of some innovative, I would just say, scientific understandings through utilizing satellite technology to discover penguin poop.
What a way to start out our Wednesday. It is pretty amazing because I know scientists are watching the penguin population, right? And so this is a sign that they are thriving if their poop is visible from space.
Well, there was a chance that their conservation status might have decreased from near threatened to vulnerable, so they'll still stay at a lower risk, which is near threatened for the moment, while they try to analyze this more. But there's good news for the Penguins. Let's go, Pens.
It is. And let's just say satellite technology. I mean, we have found a show called, I think it's called What on Earth. My kids are in love with this show. It's all about the different things that are seen via satellite. A lot of satellite technology is there where people are zooming in and they're going, what on earth is this? Like what looks to be like a letter and a symbol put in the middle of, the Amazon jungle, or, things that can only be seen from space, Aztec architecture and all kinds of stuff. So I kind of love that you threw a little bit of science news our way before we talked about Sibme news.
I'm posting this article to you. It got me excited tonight because the Penguins are back in the playoffs. I will take a win wherever we can get it. So let's go, Pens. Let's do it.
There you go. Well, if you want to check out this news story, we've got it for you in the comments. Let's move on to some more local news. I feel like we're a news channel. Again, we'll continue to remind you because we continue to get several requests in our inbox and phone calls about people who feel like they missed out on the Better Together Summit. Are we going to have a winter summit? Is it going to happen again next year? They've heard amazing things. Can they get access to at least one of the sessions that they found? My friends, you can still register for on-demand access for the Better Together Summit. So all of those sessions were recorded, including our amazing keynotes, and you can not only watch them on demand, but you can interact with others. People are still interacting participating in the Better Together Summit account, leaving questions and comments on videos because our technology lets you timestamp and time range comments. Also having huddle discussions for those sessions. So head on over to info.sibme.com/better-together. And if you add that little hashtag registration to it, it takes you straight to the registration portion of that page. It's kind of some fancy new things that I learned just this morning. So you can register. You'll enter your information. It's completely free. Within a day or two, you'll get access to the session. Again, keep that schedule handy so you can find all the sessions that you want to go back and watch. Brian, have you been catching up on what you missed out on those 2 action-packed days of PD?
I've been going back rather consistently just to kind of and it's helped me connect with some of the other customers that had done presentations and identifying some of the work we could do together this year. And I think that it's also been great because there were not some non-Sibme related sessions to kind of learn more about other things that were going on in the industry. I think that there's, I think this is kind of going to be a nice, community that will continue to kind of grow. And we've had over 1,500 people register and access this on demand since the conference. So that's been really, really encouraging. So let's keep this jamboree going.
Yeah, jamboree. I love it. Okay, and then if you tuned in last week, you got to hear from the author of our newest course, still coming soon, which is Calibrating Your Leadership Team with Video. Dr. Goree was an awesome guest with us last week, and you can pre-register or pre-enroll. What does that do for you? Well, it's a free course, so it doesn't get you any discounts on the course, but it does ensure that the moment I push publish, go live on that course, you get an email from me saying you can go in and you can start taking the course. So we're just finalizing a few of the amazing downloadable resources that are going to be available for this course. And we are hoping to launch that in the next couple of days to the next week. So pre-enroll for that puppy and get your calibration on for sure.
Calibrate your teams.
Calibrate your teams. It really is important, especially as we begin to look at this next year and what does high quality instruction look like in an online remote hybrid setting. A lot of teams are having to have those conversations. So this is a really great course to help give you a process and some tools to begin that. So check it out. And
this segues very nicely because now we are going to sit down with the thought leader of video enhanced professional learning, who's always kept flexibility, ease of use on the tip of his mind. Okay. And the ability to scale impact. Welcome back to the show, the leading scorer for the Maple Leaf Pub, David Wakefield.
Welcome, Dave.
How's it going? And how are y'all doing this morning?
Very good. Pretty good. I need to hear about this leading score thing at the Maple Leaf Pub. That sounds pretty cool.
I don't know about leading scorer, but Brian and I go back and we played men's league hockey together in Houston. And I know Brian was a goalie, so I scored on him a little too often.
In practice. So
a lot of good stuff about practice.
Yeah, definitely. So Dave, we had you on a couple of months ago, and I know you've shared this story, but we've got some new viewers that we have acquired, especially after Better Together. And so I'd love if you would just start us off telling us a little bit about yourself and why you created Sibme. What's the story?
Oh, well, the story goes back probably about 8 years ago. I was a classroom teacher, high school teacher in Houston, Texas. And at the time, professional development was largely relegated to workshops, trainings, spend a Saturday afternoon or morning in a ballroom or a conference room. And you got to show up, you got to check the box. And, it wasn't really a meaningful experience for me personally, not to say that they don't have value or couldn't be done well. The problem is I went to these too often and they weren't all that great in terms of improving my practice as a teacher. So I just felt that teachers learn best when they learn from one another. And the problem, is that you can't really create meaningful interactions in a school because you're all teaching at the same time throughout the school day. So Sibme is that solution that kind of, I thought with the smartphone coming out, everybody's got a smartphone in their pocket, whether that's an iPhone or an Android phone, they can quickly capture moments of their teaching and easily share those moments with colleagues they trust and believe can help them become a better professional. So that was always my vision, initially, is that, creating more interactions, meaningful interactions throughout the school year, anytime, anywhere. So it doesn't have to be scheduled. If I need some help with some techniques or strategies in my classroom, I can just quickly share that, moment with a teacher down the hall that I trust and respect, and I can get some feedback on that. Or I can go watch somebody teach anytime, from the comfort of my home or after school or during my conference period, where I don't necessarily have to be physically present in the room. And I can watch it, when I want to, or I maybe don't want to watch 60 minutes. I want to watch 2 minutes because that's what matters. So there's a lot of benefits for just time savings, efficiency, but also from the learning and engagement side, there just isn't a better way to reflect on your own practice than through the use of video. So video is instrumental in enabling teachers to reflect on their practice and of course watch others teach. And I learn best when I watch a master teacher doing the same thing that I'm doing, that I'm going to go turn around in the classroom the next day and implement some of those strategies and techniques that I learned. And you just don't get that in a conference room or in a workshop. And if those, happen, where's the follow-up? Where's the practice? And that's what's largely missing from those one and done sit and get workshops, is that there's no follow-up of that learning. Is it being implemented in the classroom? And we know from research, only 10% of those participants will actually turn around and implement any of the information that they acquired during that workshop. So that's much why Sibme exists. Sibme is solving that problem, of continuous improvement and growth. And, just like sports and professionals, executives, Fortune 500 execs have coaches. It's not just athletes or musicians. It's people in the professional world, whether you're a doctor, surgeon, people are getting coaches, to help them get to the next level in their professional practice, and executives in Fortune 500 companies. So teachers should have that same opportunity experience to get coaching, get feedback, and also to, if they don't necessarily want to work with a coach, they can work on their own practice in isolation and through self-reflection.
I remember we talked about this very early on. I was very supportive of what this was, your dream was, and this vision was going to do for teachers, because I thought this was the most, first off, teachers are kind of that's kind of in my mind, the most important maybe profession in America right now, because those people are seeding the minds to build our economy, build the next generation of technology. They're building our leaders of tomorrow. And, but when I was and I had my career as an engineer, I got to almost right away work with somebody that was a senior engineer that had a professional engineering license. When I had an internship with the Army, I sat next to Dr. Fowler. Every day I got to sit next to a doctor that had a doctorate in mechanical engineering. And it took you how many years to sit next to somebody that was a master teacher in the room? Dave, how long
really
did it take?
have a conversation. I mean, that's the key, right? We'll sit next to them, but when do I actually get to collaborate with those who have had some experience, have some great ideas, and really get to implement that? So, as a teacher, and then as a professional development facilitator, that was the piece that was always the hardest for us, was getting people to connect together, building some collective efficacy, and that job embedded piece. People would leave sessions excited, but then all of that excitement falls off the wayside when they're inundated with all the other priorities and the way things have kind of always run in their classroom. It's hard whenever we're trying to implement something new. There's a messy middle that we really need some support in, and we need to be able to reflect through. And it's hard to do that without the use of technology. So I love that that's at the core of what Sibme is. It's designed by educators for educators. It's about meaningful professional learning, where you get to look and connect and reflect together. So I think that's powerful stuff. I'm excited that you've created that.
Awesome.
So how has Sibme changed? Because it has changed even in the few years that I've been with Sibme. I started as a customer, and then I've been here going on my third year. How have we changed and improved, and how has that, the core of why Sibme was created, stayed a mainstay in all the work that we do?
Well, initially when Sibme, I came out of the classroom, so my focus was on user engagement with teachers and sort of end users. And you soon in the world of technology, especially when you're selling to enterprises or districts or schools, there are other sort of reasons why they need the technology, right? So they need other features that maybe a teacher doesn't need. So Sibme started as a tool and has now become more of a solution. And what I mean by that is that it solves a lot of different problems for a lot of different folks in different roles. So we initially started with solving that problem of meaningful interaction, having better conversations anytime, anywhere from the smartphone for teachers and coaches. And then it sort of morphed into, well, what if I'm a district digital innovation strategist for the central office? And so how do I scale this work across 40 or 50 or 60 campuses? And how do I monitor and look at the data and the analytics? So we built out more reporting tools and analytics features that enable you to dive in and see, are we really making a difference at scale? Because the problem isn't super difficult when you're working with a few people, because everybody can say, hey, I had a great experience. That was really meaningful. I've improved my practice. My students are achieving at higher levels. But now try to morph that across a district of 1,000 teachers, and it gets a lot more difficult. So you need a solution like Sibme to scale that work and to monitor all of that engagement and activity that's happening throughout a large district. So that involves a lot more work and effort on top of the user-friendly features that the end user, the teachers, the coaches use. And we have continued to build that out for districts that need those tools, and university teacher preparation programs, and now companies that use it for training and learning as well.
And I think that also, Dave, I think that the way we support that implementation plan, it's kind of a full service that, yes, you get a very flexible piece of technology that gives you a lot of information, but also there's the implementation plan in one district to another district looks incredibly different. And that's why we have wonderful people like Corey.
Yeah, exactly.
Advise you along the way. You need an advisor, you need a partner, right?
Yeah, we've gone well beyond the technology, right? So we have a great professional services team, of course, that's headed up by Corey, and a virtual coaching arm now as well to provide anytime on-demand coaching if you don't have those resources in-house. So we are a more comprehensive solution with technology and professional services and virtual coaching. And we'll continue to grow that out and make our technology better. We continue to improve our technology daily. If you've seen Sibme today versus in 2014, you wouldn't even recognize it. And that will be the case over the next 5 years, that Sibme will be a much different solution and just a better solution, because we continuously improve, just like we advocate for the teaching profession and educators to constantly improve their practice. We're doing the same in-house.
So
Yeah.
Go ahead, Corey.
Well, I was just going to say, so everybody right now is in the process of changing. We are all facing very unique circumstances that we thought that maybe after the spring semester, we'd be able to look back and say that wasn't fun, but we've moved on and we're back to normal now. And it's not back to normal. And managing this return to learning is not an easy feat for schools and educators and families. We're all trying to put in place structures for safety and learning for all. And so I'd love if you could share with us how Sibme can help schools and organizations, especially this year, when we maybe aren't in person or always in person. We're kind of having to flex between different settings, online and in person. How does Sibme still provide that solution? And maybe how is it even more vital for schools and organizations this year?
I would say for the first time, Sibme is a must-have solution, a need to have. We've always kind of been put aside as just that professional learning tool that, hey, it's great, but we have student learning to focus on. Sibme is a blended solution, right? We talk about hybrid learning environments, virtual learning environments, on-site. Sibme can flex into any of those environments, whether you're online, whether you're in person, whether you're doing a combination of both. So the beauty of Sibme is that we've merged synchronous and asynchronous learning all in one place. So if you have that Zoom platform that you're using this year, WebEx, that's great. Those, live synchronous meetings and classes are great, but there's so much more that has to happen in the follow-up. So those records need to be saved in an asynchronous platform. They need to be accessible, anytime, anywhere. If a student missed that course or that class, how are they going to interact with, that video? So Sibme, although was never intended for it's not a student-facing product. It is in higher ed. So to say that Sibme cannot be utilized in K-12 with students is not correct. It can be utilized with students. It can be utilized with professionals. Again, it's always been designed to be a flexible solution. It can be used it can be used in a company. It can be used in the government. There's nothing to stop anybody from designing meaningful learning experiences for learners, whether those are adult learners or student learners, within the Sibme platform. And synchronous tools like Zoom and WebEx and Microsoft Teams and GoToMeeting are not sufficient. They're insufficient tools for designing really meaningful learning experiences for everybody. So while they're a part of the solution, they are not the solution. So Sibme bridges that divide between the synchronous and asynchronous world and brings that all into one place to have really meaningful engagement and interaction online. So how do we mimic a really vibrant classroom where there's lots of students having conversations and interacting in a classroom? How do we create that online? And Sibme has done that. Sibme, if you were at the Better Together conference, you would have seen firsthand how that sort of asynchronous and synchronous world can merge into one place where the learning never stops.
That's exactly right. I mean, there's so much more to it. I mean, and the other thing is, I hear the term, folks getting zoomed out all the time. Zoomed out. What causes that? Well, because there's nothing deeper that happens. There's no follow up to that. In a space like Sibme, folks can have that kind of follow up. They can access that work later. There's not just that kind of one chance to get it and then that's it. Because that's what in the in-person learning that we were talking about earlier in this conversation, that's what was not working. And with this, when we merge our interactions in Zoom and be able to connect with that later, reflect on that later, we end up with a deeper learning cycle and a greater opportunity, cance to make impact from that learning. Another thing is organization. If you look at the organization of the Zoom Cloud, the Zoom is a really impressive product. I don't want to get too far into this, but the organization of managing our work in Sibme huddles, I think adds a great deal of efficiency to the learning process. What do you think, Corey?
Yeah, well, especially because we do video really, really well. That's a really robust artifact that can be shared in a huddle where people can tune in live, they can watch it on demand after the fact and still engage with it by using timestamp and time range comments, by adding tags like question, idea, bright spot, or even implementing their particular framework that they're utilizing in their organization to keep everything nice and aligned. But then there's also all of these other artifacts. We've added URL artifacts, which is great. So again, as Dave, you were saying, we've got our tools for synchronous meetings and discussions, and we've got tools that we share asynchronously, but we need a place to bridge those together. So it's all in one space. And not only is it holding it all in one space, but that's a robust space where we can still interact with those things from different spaces and places. And so I think Sibme huddles is especially where that happens. You can have discussions on and off videos. You can share resources. You can, get to see other people's work and align it to the key frameworks or tools that you're using in your organization. And I think that's really powerful. Again, we saw that, like you said, Better Together was a great example of that. It happened live, but we had several participants who were like, I really hope this is recorded because I've got to run and take care of a kid. Working from home and professional learning from home is difficult. We have a million distractions that we didn't necessarily have in the workplace. And so again, having those, the ability to record those things and come back to them later on and watch just the chunks that are meaningful to you is a really smart way to work. And that's what we need right now as we return to learning. We don't need a bunch of extra. We're already learning the extra that are essential for making learning happen and collaboration happen online. Sibme is that key vehicle that can help you with that. So I've always said that video is not one more thing. It's the vehicle for that. And Sibme's become much more than just video. So I think it's an important tool this year for sure. Dave, anything else that you want to add to the way that we can support schools and organizations this year?
Yeah, I think ultimately it comes down to how do we make meaningful learning experiences for adults? How do we make meaningful learning experiences for students? And it all centers around evidence of practice, right? Mm-hmm. So whether students are doing their own work, they're creating something, they're writing something, they're solving problems, there needs to be evidence shown or shared, and there needs to be feedback on that evidence and reflection. And that's how great learning happens, right? Deep learning that we talked about a little bit earlier, the deep learning and engagement around these artifacts. And that's how you're going to create meaningful online learning experiences throughout this year. So I really encourage schools and districts that are implementing really for the first time during a school year, a full school year, where online learning strategy is now an integral part of the learning experience for everybody. We have to do better in terms of how we're going to deliver this experience. All these teachers and are designers, they're architects of learning. So they have to architect a learning experience that is meaningful for their students. And that doesn't always happen in a classroom, in a physical space. It can also happen online, and it's hard. So what Sibme also allows for is that collaboration between other teachers. So teachers will be able to leverage each other for assistance and help, and maybe creating lessons together, video lessons that will be, of course, sent out, distributed through Google Classroom or other learning management systems to their students. How are you going to create all that? Well, you can crowdsource all of that work in a district or in a school where you're delegating that across different teachers and then providing feedback to each other on those lessons to make them better. So, yeah. Hey, it's too long. Let's cut this down to 10 minutes instead of 20 minutes. So all of that can be done in Sibme. And if we want to create a great, meaningful learning experience for students this year, we're going to have to leverage each other because it's going to be hard. It's going to be a really challenging year for a lot of teachers and educators, and we need to work together. We're better together in terms of collaborating with one another and creating all of this content that's going to have to be distributed online.
Yeah. And everybody's putting in place continuity of learning plans and deciding exactly how this will look. But, you know, our district, one of the board members shared in our board meeting last week that all of these plans cannot be written in pen. They have to be written in pencil, because it's going to be iterative work. We're going to have to go back to the drawing board and erase that part and replace it with something different. And because we have to be iterative and constantly reflecting together, I really do think that this is the perfect solution for organizations who are coming back, and maybe they're creating things here and sharing those so those can be used firsthand, or maybe they're taking products of their creation and their lessons and the learning evidence and placing it in Sibme to reflect and do that reiteration. So that's great. That's great. Brian, anything else today?
No, I think nothing else for me. Just I'd like to emphasize, that it's going to be really important for us to stay flexible through this whole process, because we're going to have to plan, execute, revisit, and replan again. And a solution like Sibme is going to help you stay flexible and work towards your objectives, no matter what happens in our society this year. So, I mean, it's going to be exciting. Dave, thanks for joining us today. You stay safe up there in North Dakota. Your family doesn't have one of those retired Air Force missile silos on your farm that you've made your new office, right?
But they do exist about 15 miles outside of my hometown of Grand Forks, North Dakota. So I'm enjoying the lovely weather up north. I'm away from the hot, humid weather in Texas. So I'm right with Corey. It's been beautiful here, and I'm loving the summer here.
I saw you and Anne Marie out on the lake. I'll see you out there. Okay, I'll see you out there next weekend. I'm just kidding.
All right, thanks, Dave.
Bye now.
Bye. All right, Brian. We'll wrap up with our last two segments of the day. First up, one of our favorites. It's the shout outs. Who are we shouting out today?
Well, two universities that have been collaborating with each other on best practices for some time happen to decide to address their return to school plan together. Slippery Rock University and Edinburgh University had. I kind of want to give them a shout out for collaboration on practice and welcome the new member to the family, Edinburgh University. We got a cool kickoff meeting with you all today, so can't wait to see you out there. Corey, what do you think? Isn't it great when universities get together like this?
Yeah, and this is something that we're going to be really prioritizing a lot more, especially as everybody's going through this change management, this shift, this return to learning at different levels and paces. And so it's been exciting that we get to, as we're talking with somebody and they're sharing with us what they're struggling with, we can say, you know what, there's another, school on the other side of the nation who's doing something similar. They're one step ahead, or they're right where you are. Maybe it's a good thing for you guys to connect together and problem solve together. And that's so helpful. So congratulations, Slippery Rock and Edinburgh. I can't wait to meet you, Edinburgh, later today and get everybody up and running for their year. Go ahead.
Our main man, Kyle Howard, has a new 2-minute drill for us.
He does.
Should we roll the film?
Yeah, so Kyle couldn't join us today, but he's still with us on the show. These 2-minute drills become a regular part of the What's Up Wednesday show. If you're looking for some ways to get started using video or the Sibme platform, this is your tool. So we'll wrap up with this. Brian, have a great day today. Enjoy the lake this weekend if I don't see you before then.
See you there.
Hello to all my educators. This is your friend Kyle at Sibme with your 2-minute drill. Today I'm going to be discussing some free resources. That's right, I said free resources. All you need to do to access that is go to Sibme.com, go to the resource tab and go to the Sibme Learning Center, or go to learn.sibme.com www.sibme.com. And once you go to the site, you will see a variety of free resources that we have here. Our Sibme coaching replay, our self-reflection and video, but also our instructional coaching and video. But today, ladies and gentlemen, I want to discuss something very special, something very near and dear, our Sibme mission sample deck. Now, this is a great way to use low stakes video to really to introduce yourself into utilizing video on your campus or within your district. All you need to do is go to that link, click and enroll, and you will have information to the Sibme mission sample deck. Now, let me show you an example of some of those mission cards here. This is a great example of using low stakes videos, as you can see with the easy green one leaf here. But it's going on a scavenger hunt, recording your workspace, uploading resources using your custom marker tag. But we really have something special for the instructional coaches who want to get better in their conversations that they're having with their teachers. Are you balancing nonverbal and verbal cues while giving your feedback? Are you interrupting too often? So this is a great introduction into utilizing video if you want to record some of your conversations with your teachers as well. Now, if you want to up the ante a little bit, we have something for you as well, Coaches of the Roundtable. So this allows you to calibrate around a specific instructional look for, refine your video-based feedback, but also improve your live coaching. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is your friend Kyle at Sibme with your 2-minute drill. I want to thank y'all and stay tuned for next week's episode.